Hi, it's Teresa with Crafty with Teresa. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have several techniques that we'll be walking through in this video today. We'll be working on different ways to use ink blending to make our lovely floral focal point stand out. We'll have some ink blending onto a stencil to add depth to the inside of the card, and we'll be making a gatefold card. So I hope you're able to stick with me to the end because we have a lot to cover today. So enough of my chatting, let's get to crafting. Now we're still working on the December of 2024 paper pumpkin kit. I grabbed some of my items from my stash because I'm just thinking through which focal point I want and what I might need to use for this gatefold card. There's a lot of blackberry bliss in this focal point, so I decided I wanted to create a very light background. I grabbed some of my supplies. Some are from my Close to My Heart days, as I'm still trying to continue to build up my stash from Stampin' Up. However, one of my favorite supplies that I do have from Stampin' Up is their Stampin' Right markers. I have the Pretty in Pink marker. I know these markers work really well with water, so I wanted to create something similar to this swirly pink paper design that I showed earlier in this video. I'll show you two ways to create this very light textured look. By the way, this is a recreation of the design I made. It was an elegant card video. And I'll link to that video if you want to see the other cards. But it did not tape in that video, so I wanted to redo it for you today so you can just see how easy this technique is. I love to add texture, and this is a great way to do it. But before we get too far, a lot of times in my videos, you'll see me use household supplies in my crafting. Well, here's one of them. I grabbed an inexpensive sponge that you can get for $2 US in some of your dollar stores. I cut it up and you'll see that it helps us add some textured looks. Now I've also grabbed a multi-purpose mat and a 4x11 sheet of white willow cardstock. And I'll take the Stampin' Right marker and just swirl it around onto the mat. I'll spritz it a few times with water and press my paper onto it. Now, as you can see, it is very light, but that's really what I'm looking for. It is going to be added to the back of the focal point. And we'll talk more about that in just a bit. Now, for the second technique, here's one of my go-tos, using liquid ink. I already have everything out, and so I thought I'll go and use this for another one of the designs from the kit. I'm thinking I'll use it for my Mother's Day card, but I'm not sure yet. Stay tuned, that'll be coming out soon. So as we finish up, I'm going to attempt to show you what it looks like with the zoom key. Well, it's my first attempt at this, so hopefully you can see it, but it really is very light. So I'm really not sure how it's going to show up in this video, but I'll keep my fingers crossed that you can see it. I know in the end you will be able to see the light swirl that goes behind the focal point. Now, something I did not have in mind but thought of it later was putting something behind that focal point. So I dug into my stash and I remembered I have this beautiful texturized metallic paper. I believe this color is called tungsten, which is actually a silver gray, but it looks so good with this blackberry bliss color. I didn't say it before. I will have all of the products that I was able to gather for this video in the description box below. But that paper is beautiful. It's textured, it's got shine to it, it has some lines. They're very faint, but it's inside. So we're going to take that paper and we're going to use a lattice die cut that I have from a Stampin' Die set called Linked Together. We're going to take that paper and put it behind that die. And because I'm making multiple cards, I'm going to show you another little trick. I want to save the intricate die cut piece for this card, but I want those bits that are inside of it. So thought I'd show you the way I do that. Now my disclaimer here is this is the way I do it. There may be a better way, and any of the crafters who want to jump in here and give me hints, I'll take them all, please. So I'll put removable tape on the back side. Then I'll lay my cardstock and die on top of it. I'll secure that and run it through the die cutting machine one time only. Now I do add one or two pieces of copy paper to give it that additional pressure. I also do use a pressure tool sometimes to make sure that it's on there very well, but not always. Next, I'll add some removable tape to the front. This allows me to flip it over and to remove the removable tape from the back so that I can actually glue those little bits and pieces to a piece of white cardstock. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll carefully flip it over and add glue to the back in those smaller inside pieces. Now to help guide me, I also cut a white lattice piece of cardstock out and I laid it on top. This helps me in more than one way. Not only does it help me see, but it also keeps that glue from spreading and to make sure I don't actually glue anything onto that metallic intricate frame. I do it quickly though, even though we do have some wiggle time. You can always lift it up and add more glue. And I'm not sure yet if I'm going to use that white lattice. So it's important to me to do it quickly. Now I cut a piece of white willow cardstock, 2 3/4 by 4. I place it on the back and put some pressure on it. Then I'll carefully remove the intricate frame and voila, I love the big reveal here. Now with those bits and pieces, the beauty of this is you could add that white lattice die cut back like I mentioned, and now you have that design also for your cards and scrapbook layout. Wow, I know that was a lot, but hopefully you were able to see and understand that, and you'll see the beautiful end result here. Now I'm going to grab the piece of paper that I was playing with earlier where I was inking, and I'm going to grab that paper. In this case, I'm taking the swirly side that I made with the Stampin' Right marker. And sometimes until you place and put it together, you're not sure how that's going to work out. So I grabbed the lattice metallic piece and put it on top. I think it looks great. However, I wanted to adjust it just a little bit more. This is where you kind of tweak as you go. So I grabbed a very light color to blend just a little bit more color onto that piece of paper. I'll grab my blending tools. I'm super excited that I got these tools, so I'm going to get to play around with that for a little while. I am sold on them for sure. Now I'll add that light color onto that white willow. The great thing is because I had already ink blended on this cardstock before using that Stampin' Up marker, that swirly look will still come through. It will show up nicely. So I'll just do that real quick, and then we'll cut that cardstock backing piece to the size that we need it, and we'll add it to the back of that lattice die cut. While I'm blending through this, just a few upcoming projects coming soon. I have a beautiful Mother's Day card, which, by the way, will be an easel card. At least that's the plan anyway. I'm still working through that design process. Then I'll also have, again, using the 2024 pieces from the Paper Pumpkin Kit, I will be creating a trifold book fun card using that beautiful large leaf. Wow, that's a mouthful. So now let's get back to the card that we're working on here today. I will now create the gatefold card. I'll grab a piece of Blackberry Bliss cardstock. In this case, I've cut it to 5.5 by 8.5. On the 8.5 inch side, we'll actually score it on both sides at 2 1/8. We'll do one side, score it, flip it over, and score the other side at 2 1/8. Reinforced those score lines. Next, as I'm trying to use up these items that are in this kit, I grabbed those beautiful scalloped card bases. I cut each side at 2 1/8 so that I could leave that scallop piece in. I may end up trimming it a little bit, but that's easy to do. But I went ahead and cut it at 2 1/8, flipped it over, cut it at 2 1/8, and I at least have 3 sides of that scalloped paper. I'll add them to the flaps. Next, I'm looking at the focal point design, and you can really see the difference in adding that light touch onto the back of the intricate die. It's very subtle, but noticeable when you put it next to that bright white. Now, I don't always decorate the inside of my card, but with that Blackberry Bliss in that background, I really wanted to put a little something on the inside of the card. And boy, once you get started, you just can't stop. I know if you're a crafter, you can relate to this. So I started with the stencil that I purchased recently, and I grabbed my blending brush and I just started adding a little bit of that light pink color to the cardstock piece, which is 4 by 5 1/4, just to jazz it up a bit. After I blended that light pink color, I grabbed the Happy Easter sentiments from the January to April mini catalog, and these are called ephemera packs. Then I used the leftover ink on the brush and added some color to it, and added more if I needed, till I got the look that I liked. In that same linked together die set, there are some very small flowers. I die cut them in the Blackberry Bliss and added those onto the sentiment. I kind of grouped them together because I didn't want to take away from the design outside of the sentiment, and I wanted to leave plenty of space for writing. I feel like I got a little carried away, but I think it turned out great. What do you think? So I'll add that to the inside of the card, and we're almost done. We'll grab the focal point and we'll get ready to add it. You want to be careful because you want to make sure that you only put glue on the side that you want to be tacked down, because you want to be able to open with that focal point. There are many ways to do this, but I usually do it this way. I add one small piece of double-sided tape to the card itself, and then I'll add additional tape onto the back of the focal point. Then I just lay that onto that flap, but making sure that I'm pressing it from the inside. Lastly, I added that beautiful blackberry flower focal point onto the lattice I did use some dimensionals onto this because I really wanted just a little bit of dimensional on this card. So I thought it would look really good that way. So I hope you enjoyed this video today and you gathered some tips and techniques from it. If so, I would love it if you'd subscribe and hit that like button. Also, hit that notification button so you can see the new videos as they come in. And feel free to comment. It helps me to know what kind of videos you want me to put out in the future. So until next time, have a great day.